What's up, YouTube? Sandy back here with another video. I'm going to do my June 2020 TBR, and I've got a little something new and a little something old that I'm going to be looking at as possible reading options for the month of June. That's coming up next. So first up, I'm going to start with something new, and that is my Book of the Month selections for the month of June. Really excited about what I was able to acquire here in the month of June, and actually probably the only disappointment with my Book of the Month selections is that they only let me pick 3, even though I wanted probably 2 or 3 more, including some that I guess will probably have to wait for future months, maybe July and August, depending on what the July and August Book of the Month 5 are, because those might claim some of those spots. So we shall see. And Book of the Month was on point. Oh, hello again. And I am glad to become reacquainted once again with Book of the Month. So let's start with my 3 Book of the Month selections, and the first one, and the one that I was really excited about, because this is an author that I'm very familiar with, and I've had 3 opportunities to read this author, and I've enjoyed all 3, with each one that are becoming really just progressively better, and I read them in the order in which they were written, and that is Riley Sager, and this one is Home Before Dark, and this is one that I know a lot of people have been excited about, and it's scheduled to be released later this summer, but you join Book of the Month, and hey, you get a quick early peek at it, and I could not be more excited to have the latest Riley Sager book in my collection. So just to read a little bit about this book: bells that ring themselves, record players that turn on and play music to empty rooms, ghosts that climb out of wardrobes. Maggie Holt doesn't believe in these things, even though they are the details of the story that made her family famous. 25 years ago, she and her parents, Ewan and Jess, moved into Bainbury Hall, a rambling Victorian estate in the Vermont woods. They spent 20 days there before fleeing in the dead of night, an ordeal Ewan later recounted in a horror memoir, House of Horrors. His tale of ghostly happenings and encounters with malevolent spirits became a worldwide phenomenon, rivaling the Amityville Horror in popularity and skepticism. So you can kind of see where this is going. It kind of keeps into the tradition of Riley Sager books, including his last 2, The Last Time I Lied and Lock Every Door, which again are the last 2 Riley Sager books that I read. But really excited about this one. I think this is going to be a really good one. Another hit I'm anticipating from Riley Sager. Next up from Book of the Month is The Last Flight by Julie Clarke. And this was one I was really debating between several book options that were available via Book of the Month. And this is the one that I ended up picking. This was the second one that I ended up picking, or third one, whatever, behind Home Before Dark. So, there were 2 others that I picked, of course, and I wanted to try to find something that was going to be interesting and try to get a little bit out of what I would usually buy. And so, it's tough. You only get really 3 choices maximum a month, so you got to choose wisely. 2 women, 2 flights, 1 last chance to disappear. You might know a husband like Claire's, ambitious, admired, with deep pockets. But behind closed doors, he has a temper that burns as bright as his promising political career, and he's not above using his staff to track Claire's every move. What he doesn't know is that Claire has worked for months on a plan to vanish. You know, when I first started reading about this book, it reminded me of the Julia Roberts movie from the 1990s, Sleeping with the Enemy. It just really reminded me of that, and that was one of the reasons why I was really interested in picking this one up. So, The Last Flight by Julie Clarke. I'm really excited to see where this one's going to go. It's not a super long book here, under 300 pages, and so I think this is going to be a good read, and I'm really excited about it. And last from Book of the Month is A Good Neighborhood by Therese and Fowler. And so this is one that I saw last month, and I thought about it, but I didn't pull the trigger on it because I had some other ones that kind of grabbed my attention, and I just really kind of jumped on those. But this one was in the back of my mind, and so I decided this month that I was going to pick it up. So what happens when you try to do the right thing, but it all goes wrong? Boy, how many of us can say that? In Oak Knoll, a verdant, tight-knit North Carolina neighborhood, Professor of Forestry and Ecology Valerie Alston Holt is raising her bright and talented biracial son, Xavier, who is headed to college in the fall. After years of single parenting, Valerie, a widow, faces the prospect of an empty nest. All is well until the Whitmans move in next door, an apparently traditional family with new money and a secretly troubled teenage daughter, and raise the house and trees to build themselves a showplace. So you can almost see where it's going right there. Thanks to his thriving business, Brad Whitman is a local celebrity, and he's made a small fortune on his customer service and charm, while his wife, Julia, escaped her trailer park upbringing and too early motherhood for the security of marriage and homemaking. Their new house is more than she ever imagined for herself and her girls. But with little in common except a property line, these two very different families quickly find themselves at odds. First over a historic oak tree in Valerie's yard, and soon after, the blossoming romance between their two teenagers. Oh boy. A Good Neighborhood asks big questions about life in America today. What does it mean to be a good neighbor? How do we live alongside one another when we don't see eye to eye? As it explores the effects of class, race, and heartrending love in a story that's as provocative as it is powerful. So it sounded really good, just literally too good for me to pass up. So really excited about reading this, A Good Neighborhood by Therese and Fowler. Next up are a couple of my newer selections, including one that I got from Amazon and one that I got from Book of the Month last month that I didn't have a chance to read. One is, of course, No Exit by Taylor Adams. I've talked about this before. I definitely do want to read this one. I like the closed setting trope that kind of takes place in this one. It just seemed really exciting, so definitely looking forward to reading this one this month. And one that came in the mail is a book that I've looked at a number of times on Amazon, and I've been thinking about getting it and thinking about getting it and thinking about getting it. And then finally I decided I was ordering something else off of Amazon, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and throw it in the cart and grab it. It was pretty well priced. A Heart in a Body in the World by Deb Coletti. And I really was grabbed by this book pretty much right off the bat. It just... the mystery aspect of it just really just grabbed me and just held my attention. Okay, so when everything has been taken from you, what else is there to do but run? From Seattle to Washington, D.C., Annabelle is running through mountain passes and suburban landscapes, from long, lonely roads to college towns. She's not ready to think about why yet, just the how. Muscles burning, heart pumping, feet pounding the earth. But no matter how hard she tries, she can't outrun the tragedy from the past year or the person, the taker, that haunts her. So you can kind of see where that's going. There's a mystery aspect, running from something, running from demons, sometimes real, sometimes imagined. And so I just was really intrigued by this story. It just sounded really good. And I really like the cover art as well, with the runner, the face, the tear. It just really was a really creative cover, and I just was really excited about getting this book. So finally took the plunge and bought it. A Heart in a Body in the World by Deb Coletti. Really looking forward to this one in the month of June. Okay, next is a series of books rescued from my garage that I'll go through relatively quickly here. This is a classic that I almost bought again because I forgot that I had it, and that's Caucasia by Danzy Senna. This is just I don't know if it's old enough to be considered a classic, but it is a good classic book that I think a lot of people have talked about over the years, and I'm really looking forward at some point to being able to read this one. Next up, I have a series of books either by Black authors or featuring Black people, and with everything that's going on right now in the world, I think it's really important, especially here in BookTube, that we really try to support Black authors and even our Black booktubers, our Black readers, because there's some challenges that we face as readers and as authors. And so anytime you can do a little something to really help out and to really show some support, it really means something, whether that's reading a book, leaving a comment, sharing a good book that you've read by an author of color, a Black author. It's something that you really should think about doing, and that's one of the things I did when I started to look through my book collection, including some books that I've had for many, many years that I have not yet read. And so as I've gotten back into reading in the last couple of years, I decided to pull some of these books out and to start to look at them a little bit more. So first up here is In the Paint. And this is a book that I've had in my collection for a long time, and I've wanted to read it. It is set in Detroit, and so that's my town where I was born and raised, and so that excites me. It's also got basketball in it, so that's an exciting thing as well. I do like sports fiction, and so this is one that I'm really excited about. Fowler Marie Bowles is the author, and it just sounded really interesting. The subtitle is Love is the Art of the Game. So really looking forward to this one. Next up is My Daughter's Boyfriend by Sydney Rax, and I think the title pretty much says it all right there. And as I've been reading the inside cover several times, I'm really more and more excited about this one. This could actually be the next book that I read. It just sounds extremely intriguing. It kind of reminds me of the movie The Graduate with Dustin Hoffman, and so I'm kind of thinking that this might be one that I'm going to read probably next. Next up is an author that I've had some success with in the past, and I'm looking forward to this particular book because it also has a Detroit angle to it, and that is Dying for Revenge by Eric Jerome Dickey. And I've really liked some of his books that I've read in the past, and he really delivers the goods, and so good cover art, I guess, especially if you're a guy. But this one sounds really good. Again, set in Detroit. There's the author right there, Eric Jerome Dickey. So really looking forward to taking a chance on this one. Again, you know, Detroit, a good story, a mystery, just a lot of different things going on there. So I'm really excited about jumping into this one. Next up is a book that I bought apparently 16 years ago, but I never actually read. It's called The Team by Dawson Perkins. And it just is a really intriguing book here. It's got, again, another basketball angle that's kind of going there. So really looking forward to checking this one out. It's one that, I don't know if this author has really published anything else, but it's one that just sounded really interesting to me. And I grabbed it several years ago, well, more than several years ago, 16 years ago, to be almost exact. So looking forward to really taking a plunge on this one as well. Next up is another book that's set in Detroit. And this is a book that I picked up at a bookstore in the Detroit area, and I was really excited about this one, Color of Justice by Gary Hardwick. And this one, again, is set in Detroit, and it just really grabbed my attention here. You have an interracial couple, police officer, a white police officer, Black live-in girlfriend, and then you got a mystery, you know, that goes on with a crime that takes place. And so I was really excited about this one. Again, this is one that I've had in my possession a long time, and I'm looking forward to this. Really, not only supporting a Black author, but an author from Detroit. And so that's something that's really exciting for me. So Color of Justice by Gary Hardwick. Next up, Our Hearts Will Burn Us Down by Anne Valente. And this is one that I saw on Amazon, and it just sounded really interesting to me, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to grab it. It was a really inexpensive book. I got it used, and it came relatively quickly. I'm just going to read a little bit of the inside cover here. The lives of 4 teenagers are capsized by a shocking school shooting and its aftermath in this powerful debut novel, a coming-of-age story with the haunting power of Station 11 and the bittersweet poignancy of everything I never told you. So I'm looking forward to this one. Again, it's got the school setting, and it's got football going on, and so lots of different things going on here. And so it just sounded really good, and it came at a really good price. So it was just really too good for me to pass up. Next up is another oldie, and it is actually another book with a sports angle to it. This is Home Court Advantage by Rita Ewing and Crystal McCrary, and this is a book that I've had in my possession a long time. You can see it was $4 former library book right there. And so I just wanted to take a look at this one. It again revolves around basketball. I'll just read this is from the inside cover here. The headlines of sports pages trumpet their husbands' names. Their lives unfold in deep shadows that are the flip side of the bright spotlights. And before the season's over, these women behind the great men of the New York Flyers are going to rock the NBA to its core. Home court advantage. Playoffs. The New York Flyers and their management are stretched nearly to the breaking point. Lose again this year, and the team, as they know it, will be history. And what of their women? So it just really sounded good, and I saw it, and written by, again, Rita Ewing and Crystal McCrary. You can see the two authors right there on the back cover. It's got that library plastic over the top there. So really looking forward to reading this one. This is a book I've had a long time. It's been on my shelf, and I've always wanted to read it, and for some reason I never have, but I'm ready to change that now. And last but not least, I'm going to venture into nonfiction here, and I'm going to read a story about a great pitcher in history, Satchel Page, a Negro League pitcher, The Life and Times of an American Legend. And this is a book that a friend recommended on Goodreads, and I saw it, and I thought, you know what? Satchel Page is a name that I've heard a lot about in terms of baseball. When I was much younger, when I was a preteen and early teen, I was all about baseball for me. I know it seems kind of weird now for people that know me, but back then it was all baseball. I mean, Little League baseball, obsessed about baseball statistics, reading baseball box scores, following the Tigers when they were really good in the early 80s. And so, it just learning about that history of baseball and the Negro Leagues and some of the great players that in some ways never got their due just made me really excited to see this book and to pick it up once I was made aware of it. So I'm really looking forward to this one. This is more than likely this is going to be my nonfiction read for the month of June. So there you have it, my likely TBR for the month of June 2020. If you like this video, please hit the like button for support of the channel. If you do support the channel and you want to help out even more, and please consider hitting the subscribe button to be alerted for future videos that arrive on this channel as I produce them here in the weeks, months, years, decades to come. So thanks for support, and look forward to seeing you with the next video.